Welcome back to the Better Yourself podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Meckling, and thanks for tuning in today. If this is your first time listening in, welcome. Now, I do recommend that you start from the first episode and listen to each one in order because the topic of conversation will flow from episode to episode. Now, before we dive into today's episode, I do want to remind you guys that I do not have any medical education and that everything I discuss is from information I've received from various psychiatrists and psychologists, as well as mental health books I've read and various research on the internet. Now, let's dive right in. Today's episode is going to be all about the difference between anxiety attacks and panic attacks. Both of these terms stem from anxiety and effects that they may cause. A panic attack can be sudden and occur out of the blue, often without any warning. They can also cause intense physical symptoms like feeling like you're having a heart attack when you're not, but the good news is that they're very short and only last a couple of seconds. They can also cause shaking and lead to derealization and depersonalization, which, as we discussed previously, are a symptom of complex PTSD that can cause anxiety and therefore panic attacks. Whereas anxiety attacks grow gradually, making you feel very uneasy. They can be caused by a trigger and they can last for a few hours or maybe even a few days. They can also disrupt your sleep and cause irritability. But they both can cause rapid heart rate, shortness of breath, sweating, nausea, dizziness, or chest pains. Oh my gosh, you guys, that is so much. But, using techniques that I have discussed up to this point are great ways to help prevent panic attacks as well as manage anxiety attacks, such as the rubber band technique I talked about, the walk and talk technique, the Buddha breath technique, and many more. And don't forget that something as simple as deep breathing or reading a mindfulness book can also make a huge difference. I personally practice various techniques on a daily basis to help prevent anxiety and panic attacks, as I've experienced both of them, and I have found that the more I practice techniques, the much more better that I feel. As a matter of fact, today's technique that I'm going to leave you with is the 7 breaths technique. Lay down or sit comfortably in a chair and take in a deep inhale through your nose and exhale slowly through your mouth as if you're blowing out of a straw. Repeat this practice 7 times to fully calm yourself down. This will stop the flow of cortisol, our stress hormone in the brain, and will relax and calm your body, both physically and mentally, as it stops that stress hormone. But don't forget, you can always call 988, which is the National Suicide and Crisis Prevention Hotline, if you're ever having a mental health situation and need to speak to someone immediately. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I know it was a short and a quick one, but I hope you found it helpful and educational and enjoyed it as much as I did. Don't forget to listen in to next week's episode on Thursday, as well as my music that I've released on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube. My music is listed under the name Ash, A-S-H, which is in all capital letters with an exclamation point. Also, feel free to give this podcast a follow on Instagram, X, Facebook, or Threads at Better Yourself Podcast. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. See you guys later.